The sun glitters across the turquoise waters of Punta Cana, and tourists from around the world sink their toes into the soft white sand. It's a picture-perfect paradise that draws millions of visitors each year to the Dominican Republic's easternmost beaches. But beneath this postcard-worthy surface lies a darker reality that few travelers recognize until it's too late. When Sudiksha Konanki arrived at the Rio Republica Hotel with her 5 college friends in early March 2025, she was like any other 20-year-old on spring break, ready for a week of sun, fun, and escape from her studies at the University of Pittsburgh. The 5-star, all-inclusive adults-only resort promised exactly the getaway these students were looking for. Little did Sudiksha know that she was walking into a paradise with hidden dangers that had already claimed multiple lives. The night that changed everything began like many on spring break, with music, dancing, and new friendships. Security cameras captured Sudiksha and her friends dancing at the resort's disco until around 3 a.m. on March 6. As the night wore on, the group connected with Joshua Riibe, a 24-year-old tourist from Iowa. Together, they decided to continue their evening under the stars. Around 4 a.m., the security footage shows them all heading toward the beach, with Sudiksha and Riibe walking close together, arms around each other's backs. The soft crash of waves and the moonlight on the water must have seemed romantic rather than threatening. While most of the group eventually headed back to their rooms around 5:50 a.m., Sudiksha and Riibe remained on the beach. It would be the last time anyone saw her. The day unfolded with increasing panic as hours passed without Sudiksha returning. By 4 p.m., her worried friends reported her missing to resort staff, triggering what would become a massive search operation involving more than 300 personnel from both Dominican and American agencies. While search teams combed the area, investigators began piecing together what happened during those early morning hours on the beach. What they discovered painted a troubling picture of dangerous conditions and inconsistent stories. Naval Commander Agustin Murillo Rodriguez reported the sea had been particularly rough that day, with unusually high waves pounding the shoreline. A hotel guest named Lonnie Sweeney remembered those same conditions vividly. "I remember the waves being a lot bigger than they normally were," Sweeney told investigators. "The waves were probably reaching like 6 feet. There are no lights or lanterns or anything on the beach to kind of illuminate it to help someone if they are on the beach. Me and my friends were on the beach and I remember telling them that I was not going to go into the ocean because I know I could swim but not well enough to feel safe." Red flags had been flying on the beach, literal warnings of the danger lurking in those beautiful azure waters. But had Sudiksha and Riibe noticed them in the darkness? Had they understood what they meant? Riibe's account of that morning changed multiple times, raising questions among investigators. In one version, he claimed they had gone for a swim but were caught in a large wave. He managed to swim back but became sick after swallowing seawater. In another telling, he said he fell asleep on the beach and woke up to find Sudiksha gone. A third story had him feeling ill and leaving her alone in knee-deep water. Security footage showed Riibe walking alone on the resort grounds afterward, shirtless, barefoot, and without Sudiksha. While authorities named him a person of interest as possibly the last person to see her, they emphasized he wasn't considered a suspect in what they still classified as a missing person case. As Sudiksha's devastated parents, Subriyodudu and Sridevi Konanki, urged investigators to consider kidnapping or human trafficking, Dominican authorities leaned toward a grimmer but simpler explanation, that Sudiksha had likely drowned in those treacherous waters, joining a growing list of tourists claimed by Punta Cana's deceptively dangerous coastline. Please subscribe to my channel, and I will bring you more videos featuring the most shocking true crime stories. What makes Sudiksha's disappearance even more tragic is that it wasn't an isolated incident. Just weeks earlier, on January 17, the same beach had witnessed another horror unfold when 6 tourists decided to swim at Playa Arena Gorda near the Rio Republica Hotel. Despite the clear warning of red flags indicating dangerous conditions, they entered the water, a decision that would prove fatal for 4 of them. The powerful currents that day showed no mercy. Emergency services responded quickly, but they couldn't prevent tragedy. The bodies of 4 victims were recovered the next day, 47-year-old Marcin Teodor Czasinski and 52-year-old Sylwia Alexandra from Poland, 67-year-old Portuguese tourist Nelson Nunes Ribeiro, and 54-year-old Jakub Tomasz Pedziak. Two others struggled against the current but ultimately survived, though they needed medical care afterward. Behind these names were real people with families and futures. Nelson Ribeiro had been a primary school teacher who had recently retired from a career of shaping young minds in Oliveira do Hospital, Portugal. He left behind 2 children and had just become a grandfather to a newborn, a new chapter of his life cruelly cut short during what should have been a relaxing vacation. After the January drownings, RIU hotels and resorts issued statements expressing sympathy for the families and emphasizing that warning systems had been in place. The red flag placed on the beach, as a warning, indicated that the sea had an intense current and very high waves, the hotel explained, suggesting that the tourists had ignored these warnings. But some local property owners at the Cana Bay Resort raised concerns about inadequate safety measures, particularly the absence of lifeguards on these beaches, despite the high fees they paid for access to the complex. In the wake of these tragedies, the Emergency Operations Center imposed restrictions along the coastal perimeter, following recommendations from the Dominican Institute of Meteorology. What makes these waters so dangerous? The beaches of Punta Cana might look serene, but they hide powerful rip currents that can rapidly pull swimmers away from shore with incredible force. According to the Dominican Republic Coast Guard, Punta Cana's coastal waters feature some of the strongest underwater currents in the Caribbean basin, reaching dangerous speeds of 4 to 5 knots, particularly during storm season from August through November. These powerful forces can overwhelm even experienced swimmers within moments. Even strong swimmers can find themselves helpless against these currents, especially when combined with high waves. For tourists unfamiliar with reading ocean conditions, the danger might not be apparent until they're already in trouble. The International Lifesaving Association recommends specific actions when caught in a rip current. Rather than fighting against the powerful flow, swim parallel to the shore until you escape the current zone, then make your way back to the beach. Unfortunately, many tourists panic and exhaust themselves by trying to swim directly against the current, often with tragic consequences. The beaches along Playa Arena Gorda, where both incidents occurred, are particularly notorious for these dangerous currents during certain weather patterns. The conditions can change quickly, transforming a seemingly calm sea into a deadly trap within minutes. What's particularly striking about both Sudiksha's disappearance and the January drownings is that they occurred during early morning hours, times when supervision might be minimal and when darkness could obscure warning flags. Studies by the Dominican Institute of Meteorology have identified these early morning hours, 4 to 7 a.m., and late evening, 7 to 9 p.m., as the most hazardous times for swimming, creating a perfect storm of danger, limited visibility, reduced supervision, and often stronger currents. During these hours, emergency response times are typically longer, and crucial minutes can be lost before help arrives. The pattern suggests that the risk might be heightened during these hours, when fewer eyes are watching and help might be further away. Despite warning systems being in place, the tragedies raise serious questions about whether visual warnings alone are sufficient. Red flags can be missed or misunderstood, especially by international tourists who might not be familiar with local beach warning systems. And without lifeguards to enforce these warnings or intervene in emergencies, the flags become mere suggestions rather than effective safety measures. As the search for Sudiksha continues and the families of Marcin, Sylvia, Nelson, and Jakub mourn their losses, these stories serve as sobering reminders that paradise comes with risks that shouldn't be underestimated. The pristine beaches of Punta Cana will continue to draw tourists with their beauty, but beneath that beauty lies a power that demands respect and caution. For those planning trips to Punta Cana or similar coastal destinations, these tragedies highlight the importance of understanding local warnings, respecting ocean conditions, and recognizing personal limitations when swimming in unfamiliar waters. They also raise important questions about the responsibility of resorts to ensure adequate safety measures protect their guests, questions that remain unanswered as Sudiksha's family continues their desperate search for answers about their daughter's fate. The beautiful waters of Punta Cana will continue to glitter in the sun, but for those who know these stories, that glitter now carries a warning: paradise has a dark side that tourists ignore at their peril.
If you enjoy deep dives into true crime, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next story. Until next time, friends!